Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim plans a shock transfer swoop involving Son from Spurs. Could it lead to Marcus Rashford leaving Manchester United? Many people are waking up and feeling that as well. Also, we'll talk about the media backlash. Some of it started last night. It's inevitable. We're open to this. And are we seeing progress? Are we relaxed this morning? Are we concerned? We'll delve into all of that following Manchester United's 2-0 loss to Arsenal last night and Amorim's 4 points from 9 in his first 3 Premier League games. Remember, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won his first 7 in a row. Would you rather have that bounce or would you rather have the reality? Bowling balls don't bounce, and Manchester United are a bowling ball that has been sinking for a long time. It takes more than a new manager bounce to get Man United back where it needs to be, and he needs to see the realities, and he is seeing the realities for sure. Lots to get into. Also, I just want to say straight away at the start of the show, obviously last night there were numerous other watch-alongs. There was a time when it was basically just us. There was numerous other watch-alongs. There was a mainstream media watch-along with legends of the game, and still we came out number 1. That is because of you, community. It was busy last night. I didn't get to say it at the end of the show because I had to pass to the forum. I'll say it this morning. The best community, absolutely brilliant. And I think the way we sell it is, it's not watching someone else watch the game, it's watching the game with us. That's what we do, and that's why we're a community. So thanks everyone for getting involved. And don't forget to subscribe. We are 20k away from 2 million now. So let's go with the community. Makish says, Ego Bridge. And yet, I haven't mentioned anything other than you. I'm bigging you up, you knob. Anyway, let's get into it. We're going to talk about Son. This is coming in. Well, it came in last night, actually. I think it came in from Give Me Sport. Few outlets talking about it. Let me paint a picture here. Son is 32. He will be 33 in July. So by the time he made his Man United debut, if we signed him, he'd be 33. Free agent, out of contract in the summer. Would you do this deal? Yes, 80% of you had voted in the live chat poll. Would you sign Son and sell Rashford? Now, how much of that is would you sell Rashford, and take Harvey Barnes? Like, I think some people would do that at the moment. So, obviously, I think Rashford's in a bad place with the fan base again. And I think people are getting a bit tired of it. We'll talk about that separately. But Son, you know what? It's so anti-Ineos and their policy to do this. And we have done this before with regards to Ronaldo, Cavani, Zlatan. Would you do it again? I'm conflicted because I think Son at 29 would have been worth it. 4 years later, I've got to be honest, I'm not on board. I'm not on board. I'd be a hypocrite if I was. 33, we're trying to build a future. Look, you know what? Honestly, in this system, he would be amazing. You could play him instead of Rasmus at times as a proper false 9, but he'd be perfect next to a Bruno or a Mount behind Erasmus with a wing back on his side. The freedom, the technical ability, the speed, the shot. He's an all-rounder, and he's been wasted at Spurs. I know Spurs fans will be offended by that, but he deserves a lot of praise for staying at Spurs because you put Son in a Liverpool team, a Man City team, an Arsenal team, and he would be one of their best players. He would be absolutely brilliant, and he would be brilliant in this system for United. But the age is a problem, and it's not an unsurmountable problem. If you analysed it and looked at it and went, he's going to give you 3 more years, then you might look at it. But 3 more years takes him to 36. It's just too late. It's too late. 4 years ago, yes. Not next summer on a free. I mean, on a free, it's good. I mean, but the wages, I think, he's obviously probably going to go MLS or Saudi, isn't he? Because I just don't see. It's compelling. I'd trust United if they decided to do it. I really, really would. But I don't see it happening because of the age. But I get it. I really do get it. I think he's Premier League proven and he'd be absolutely brilliant in that role behind the striker in the 2. Because when you look at Son, he's got that lovely layoff, strong control, can dribble with the ball, got a good shot on him. He's got the lot. And we haven't got a player like that. So we do need a player like that. But I don't think even on a free transfer next summer, it would be a no for me. Answering the question though, Mark, you said, would you take, what was the question? Would you take Son and sell Rashford? Yes or no? Yes. You know why? From a business point of view, Son costs you nothing. and you get 40, 50 million pure profit for Rashford. So yes, I would. That's not being hypocritical to what I just said. I don't think we should go for Son because of his age, but you've just presented me a business deal. Would I sell Rashford and take Son on a free? Yes, because I don't think we lose anything. We've still got Garnacho, we've still got Mount, we've still got Ahmad, we've still got Bruno. We've got young players coming through. I would sell Rashford because of the pure profit. I don't necessarily feel that Son as a free transfer replacement for a player on pure profit is a bad deal. I'm answering whether I think Son is a good player. Yes, I just worry about the 33. But salary would also be a problem as well, Shimon. Mark, joining a bit later, what about Son's commercial attraction for the Glazers with the Asian fans? Alex, I mean, it's amazing you mentioned that because it actually is huge. And it would be massive for United, and they definitely make their money back on it from a commercial deal. But what, you know what? Maybe we've stumbled on something there anyway. We're being very disrespectful to Spurs, by the way, because he might sign a new contract. He might go to the MLS. He might go to Saudi. But look at it like this. If you sold Rashford for 50 million, that's pure profit. You can use that any way you like in the squad. Son comes in on a free. His wages are covered by the commerciality. It's a free deal. The only thing about Son is he's 33. You don't need to worry about the finances. You'll get all that back and more. And you'll not necessarily need to replace Rashford. So it could be pure 50 million profit on Rashford. Son comes in on a free. Wages would be covered by all the commerciality for a couple of years while you promote somebody younger. So look, my eyes are open. We've just lost 2-0 and I feel quite relatively relaxed about the future. So if you're telling me as a business proposition, I can take 50 million for Rashford, remove his ridiculous wage and contract, bring Son in for a couple of years on a good wage, but cover that off with commerciality, and then develop some of the younger players with Son for a couple of years, it actually makes a lot of sense. I just don't know whether any of us want to think like that anymore. But, you know, you look at Lasali, who's come in from Crystal Palace, 17. You look at some of the younger players like Lacey in the youth setup. Maybe we bring another younger player in from somewhere who's the next Ahmad. So you could do that. Commerciality, business, finance, and long-termism. You can have a 33-year-old that's for the long term if he's there to cover a gap for a couple of years while you develop a couple of other players. So it could work out. The wages would be less than Rashford, 100%, yeah. Anyway, Alex, hope that explains it. Look, good point. Patrick Lynch says, Son is great, but there are plenty of younger players in Europe that we can get with a similar profile that we could get maybe cheaper. Surely our scouts extend beyond the now. Exactly, Patrick, exactly. 19-year-old Rashford thought he'd be the best player in the world one day. Rashford today knows he's average. That's the difference, says M. Parker. And Grant says, I love this community. Me too. Thank you very much. Look, I want to talk a little bit more about some players from last night because I want to talk about this media backlash that I read last night, and I want to talk about that because I think it's really important. I think in relation to Rashford, just to plant a seed, there was somebody in the live chat last night who said Rashford at 19 ran around like he had a third lung. Rashford at 27 is a guy who spent too much time being told he's the best player in the world and doesn't run anymore, and he's fell out of love with football. And I thought, you know what? Project it back on the player. That's what Amorim did last week. He said the player's got to want it. I'm not interested in player FC. You know, I'm not interested in getting into arguments about toxicity and agenda. Tell me he wanted it last night. He didn't. And tell me he's wanted it for the last year consistently. He hasn't. He turns it on and off like a hot tap. And that's not good enough. I mean, in the third Premier League game for Amorim, and you know, you look like you did towards the end under Ten Hag. I just think there's a bigger problem here. I mean, motivation doesn't seem to be there, and yet 8 years ago it was. And is it a story of the guy who was hungry to achieve and then was given everything and lost the hunger? I don't know, but yeah, I still think he might play against Forest on Saturday and score a couple of goals, and people will say he's back again. But I just think that betrays a naivety to analyse football. You're not back because you score a couple of goals at home to Everton or Forest. You're back when you turn up against the Arsenals and the Man Cities and the Liverpools consistently. So look, I probably would start him on Saturday because he probably will score a couple of goals because it's against the sort of team in the sort of environment where you probably do fancy it. But didn't fancy it last night, did he? Not against Saliba, didn't fancy it. And that's just not good enough for where we want to go. Not at all. He'd be this generation's Sheringham, says Keel, in relation to Son. And LMP says, I'm just over Rashford at this point and hoping Amorim is the manager that finally puts him in his place and says work hard or get out. Well, he has. He already has done that, LMP. But you know what? On another sort of frustration, I've not turned my lights on. On another frustration, I absolutely am probably going to expose myself as just having a very niche thing that annoyed me. Oh my God, did it annoy me. I can't remember what the score was at the time. Maybe it was 2-0, but you're one behind. You know that free kick we had where I thought Bruno was going to curl it over the wall and he played it into Antony. And Antony took a bad touch and then tried to pass it into the goal with the inside of his foot. I just felt like, I literally, on the watch along last night, if you go back and watch it, I really wanted to say, F off, you useless something else. And I thought, you can't. I don't want to be that. I don't really want to do that anymore. But oh my God, I was just so angry. This is a player that has wasted the last 2 years on huge money and a huge transfer that still retains hope amongst the fan base that he can just show us something. And then in that situation, the IQ just doesn't exist. The footballing IQ just doesn't exist. I said this in the summer. I wanted Antony to succeed. I really liked him at Ajax, and I was really excited. But having watched him for 2 years, it's a footballing IQ issue. It's Memphis all over again. You can do it in the Eredivisie, but this is a higher level with a higher intensity, and he doesn't have the decision-making or the IQ to deal with the pace and intensity of the Premier League. And that last night, I mean, really, you should be hitting that first time. When Bruno lays it off, you should hit that first time. But if you want to take a touch, you've got to shoelace it. You don't bloody pass it. It was absolutely infuriating. And there was a few bits like that yesterday, especially in the last half an hour. I saw Xerxes laying balls off to Rashford. I don't know whether it was Rashford's fault or Xerxes' fault, but it was just wasted possession. And people can go in on Garnacho, Mount and Rasmus. But in the first half, they retained possession really well as a three. I know we did nothing going forward, but they retained it. In the second half, it was really bad. Anyway, talking about that, we're gonna riff and move around a little bit here. I'm not shouting out these morons out. I'm not going to shout these morons out, by the way. I know it's a news show, but I'm not going to do it because I just think people have said to me in the past, I know it's a news show, Mark, but by mentioning them, you're giving them credence and people might read their articles and stuff. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give them the credibility. Suffice to say, there were 1 or 2 journalists last night who were basically starting the backlash on Amorim. I certainly saw things like Arteta schooled Amorim in the second half, and I also saw, more importantly, Amorim made mistakes. His biggest mistake was not starting Rashford and Ahmad. And I just thought, and it sort of went, and it went on, he needs to learn from these mistakes quickly. And I was like, who are you? You're a fucking pen pusher. You went to university and got a blue tick. You know, what are you talking about? Amorim needs to learn from mistakes. What the bloody hell do you, what do you know? What do you know? He's already said rotation has been forced upon him because of the amount of games that are going on and the minutes that people can play. But this is what I mean. It's going to happen. The backlash will happen. The media are not our friend and they've never been our friend and they will come for us. It's absolute wipe his arse for the first 2 weeks and then as soon as we drop points, oh, let's start. Drip, drip, drip. And it started last night straight away. I mean, this to me is something I'm going to talk about on the video I'm doing with Loz later on That's Football PR. But bottom line is, I get the fact that people wanted Ahmad to start, but the rotation has been consistent. And we will see it again on Saturday. And he's explained the rotation, and we can talk about that if you want. But for a journalist to sit there and say, Amorim needs to learn from his mistakes, he should have picked Rashford and Ahmad. You don't drop players who are in form. Hello, you fucking morons. He literally dropped Rasmus from Bodo Glimt, where he'd scored 2 very good goals, so that Rashford and Xerxes could play. So, are we back down the British bias bullshit again? What you really want to write is, why is Lord Rashford not starting? Because the bottom line is, Amorim rotated Bodo Glimt to Everton. and then he's not picked your star boy, so you're pissed off about it, isn't it? And then you've thrown Ahmad in to try and, you know, it's almost like, oh, you thought we wouldn't notice that you've thrown Rashford in with Ahmad. Of course, Ahmad starting would have been ideal because he's been our best player. But I don't see why Rashford not starting yesterday was a mistake. If he played like he did in the second half, we'd have fucking lost in the first half. So I didn't have a problem with Garnacho, Mount and Rasmus. We didn't create anything, but we didn't commit to create anything. But they held the ball up and the possession was good. And if you want to start Rashford, why would you not start Xerxes? He scored 2 goals as well. So this is what I mean about the media backlash. It will start. The agenda will start. And I read that and I thought, what the fuck are you talking about? Why have you snuck Rashford in with Ahmad? Oh, Amorim needs to learn from his mistakes. You must pick players who are playing well. His biggest mistake was not starting Ahmad and Rashford. And I thought I saw nothing in the first half that made me think we missed Rashford. And arguably, did we miss Ahmad? Because Malacia and Delo defensively did quite a good job in retaining the possession. I would have started Ahmad. I would have started Rashford, to be honest with you. But, you know, Curtis, you blocked, mate. Don't come into our chat and start talking like that. Fuck off. I'm just talking about waffling. And we're talking about the news, mate. If you can't be bothered to listen, jog on. You're the sort of toxic element that will turn this all around and, you know, be wanking yourself off to some poster on the wall of your favourite player, or, you know, listening to some knobhead journalist indoctrinate you into toxicity and drip and turn you against the manager. You need to wake up and smell the bloody coffee for once. We are actually building something. The manager is being really honest. He's speaking about rotation because he has to rotate. And the team is a fucking mess. That's why we're in the bottom half of the table again, and that's why we're in the bottom half of the table when he inherited it. He's not even been here 2 weeks. I've been on longer lads' holidays than Amorim's been at Man United, and people want to start going, Amorim needs to learn quick. Amorim needs to do this. Amorim needs to fucking do nothing that you tell him to do, because you've sacked 5 managers over the last 10 years. What we need to do is be patient and back the manager. That's what we need to do, because there will be losses. And there'll be more losses than you think. It won't just be on the pitch. There'll be losses off the pitch. If Ineos are here to do what they're meant to be doing, then this manager is going to be given the freedom to do a lot of things. And I will call out the backlash. I will call it out because I know it's coming. I knew it was coming with Ten Hag, and I know it's coming with Amorim. Because I know, as I said before the Arsenal game, our next 7 Premier League games, we have Liverpool and Man City away as well as Arsenal. And looking at yesterday, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle against Man City in 2 weeks' time. People think because Man City have been on a bad run, no, they've been on a bad run against well-organised teams. Bournemouth, Brighton, Spurs, Liverpool. We're going to go to the Etihad with a collection of players that we had last night. And I don't think, I don't expect us to win that already. I think we'll beat Forest. I think Bournemouth we have to win. And I think Man City will beat us. And that's just the way it's going to be. There are going to be losses along the way. Henry, thank you very much for your super chat. I just want to see Antony start once on the left, says Keel. I don't want to see Antony start ever again, mate. I think it was rubbish. Dylan says, speak about yesterday's Bruno's performance. Spoke about it last night, mate. We don't do UK Gold here. We don't do the History Channel. I spoke about it on the Match Reaction. If you want to bring in a question that makes it more topical and relevant, I will talk about it. Big Z says, I've got a solution to Rainbow Jackets issue. Each player wear a colour of the spectrum, stand in order, flanking players. Okay, Big Z. Love United, hate the opposition. This is not me defending Rashford, by the way, but I feel Rashford was pissed he got dropped in big game because he usually almost always scores versus Arsenal. Well, mate, you know what? If there was any element of that being true, then I would be furious with that, to be honest with you. Absolutely furious. Hold tight. Tidings of comfort and joy. Comfort and joy. You know why I had to go then? Absolutely brilliant. My Christmas tree's just been delivered. And the person who delivered it knew who I was and wanted a selfie. No, I had to get the door because I missed them yesterday. It was my real Christmas tree being delivered. I've just realised, forget all the stuff from yesterday. People are going to be moaning now. He's cut an innocent tree down. I have, but economically, what's worse for the environment? Plastic tree or a real tree, which will be turned down into pulp, and I don't know what happens with it. Anyway, I wasn't going to the toilet. I was getting my Christmas tree. Going back to that question there. Sell Rashford, get Kvaratskhelia, says Flo. Mark, to put it in a nutshell, Rashford is just not good enough. The hunger is gone, says Ronald. Rashford is finished, says Harvey. Is yesterday's news. And Julian says, if De Ligt was British, he would be one of the signings of the summer. Underrated, consistent performer. Look, I'm definitely not going to ruin what we're talking about on That's Football a little bit later with Loz, but there is something around this and the previous player we were talking about that I absolutely want to talk about on there and getting into it a little bit more. But Julian's right. Where is the De Ligt love? Where is the De Ligt love? Because when I look at Manchester United and I look at last night and I look at the player ratings, if you haven't watched the player ratings show last night, you really, really should. It, to me, is just absolutely incredible. Because, you know what? There were some good performances last night. Like, De Ligt played well. Mazraoui played well. Maguire played well when he was on the pitch. I thought Malacia did okay. Onana, I thought, played well, and yet people want to throw him under the bus. Agate, I thought, was really good. But nobody wants to talk about that because we lost 2-0 to Arsenal. So if you're going to take Onana's performance, De Ligt's performance, Yoro's performance, Agate's performance, Mazraoui's performance, Ahmad off the bench, there is a core of players that are starting to play consistently well. And yes, you lose 2-0 to Arsenal, but I mean, look, I was laughing at some of the memes about Stoke, but look, they are like the Rory Delap throw-in. Like, they're amazing at corners, absolutely amazing at corners. And I think that's just, we lost because of that. There wasn't much from open play. Now, corners are part of the game, of course they are, and we must do better next time we play them in the Cup in early January. But there are a lot of positives to take from there. How do you feel this morning about United? How do you feel about where we are? Because you know what? You've had people talking about, oh, we're going to get top four. We're only 4 points off top four. But again, I was never going to go over the top about wins, and I was never going to go over the top about losses. This is a long-term project. I'm talking at least 18 months before we get in the top four, probably. A year in May before we're in the top four. I hope we can do well in the Europa League. I think that's the real growth point. But we're now 7 points off fourth place. 7 points off fourth place, and we've played the same amount of games as Man City. So overnight, we're only 4 points off is 7. That's massive. And we've got to play Man City in a couple of weeks. So that could be 10 points off fourth place in a week or two. And what are you going to do then? Your top four dream's gone. You haven't got your bus out and Ollie's not at the wheel. We're in a reality that people need to wake the hell up to. The reality is we're not good enough. We're just not good enough. And people still think we are good enough because we got a couple of goals from Xerxes and Rashford against Everton and Rasmus got a couple against Bodo Glimt. We're not good enough. We're not good enough as a team. We are building the foundations again with a manager who is building foundations with bricks he never fucking bought in a system these players have never played. And that's why there are conversations around Bruno playing in a pivot. Does that work? Long term, I really don't. Are we trying to force him into the team so that we can play Mount because you can't play Mount and Bruno? I said that before the game. I think Bruno was playing in the pivot for possession, but in the second half, he should have gone into Mount's position because, the game opened up more. So there are lots of things that there's massive question marks. I mean, has anybody actually asked the question that Amorim might not be successful? I have. I want him to be successful. I think he has the personality, the drive, the football to be successful. But every bloody club in the top six, Maresca at Chelsea, Arteta at Arsenal, Slot at Liverpool, every fan of those clubs thinks their manager can be successful. There is no divine right that Man United will be successful. And we won't be successful, no matter how good the manager is, if the people around him don't deliver. And that's players, that's owners, that's staff, that's recruitment. Everything's got to be right. A manager on their own cannot do it at Man United. This has been proved time and time again. But yeah, look, De Ligt should be getting a lot more credit. But am I concerned? No, I'm not concerned. I do see steps of progress. But the real key, you know what? I'm not gonna get lost in. I'm not gonna get lost in the story of how much or how long or how many things need to happen. Fundamentally, to me, it comes down to two words: ruthless aggression. Aggression to go and get the players that are needed for this manager, ruthlessness to get rid of the problems that we never have. And if they don't follow those two words, Amorim will fail. And he'll be another Rangnick who spoke sense and ended up or another Mourinho who had the ability but got stabbed in the back. Then they must be ruthless. And in being ruthless, you've got to have the conversations about Rashford or Antony or Bruno or whoever else you think, ruthlessly needs to be removed from this football club. And I've just realised, because I went for the break, I didn't actually answer the question that Love United Hate the Opposition said. He said, I'm not defending Rashford, but I feel like Rashford was pissed he got dropped in a big game because he usually almost scores against Arsenal. I don't know whether that's true or not. Obviously, he didn't react very well when he got left out of the Palace game, did he? Having played well in the game before that. But you know what? If that is in any way, shape or form true, get rid of him. Like, you are not as good as you think you are, mate. Like, I would have started you against Arsenal because that's what I would have done. But I don't think you're out and out better than Garnacho or Mount or Xerxes at the moment or Bruno. Like, you're either in the team or you're out the team, and the manager has spoken about rotation. So if that's the reason he was a bag of shit when he came on against Arsenal, then that's a massive, massive problem. I don't believe that because I think it's been publicised that rotation was going to happen. I just think he can't deliver at the highest level anymore. I just don't. I think when he comes up against good defenders, he looks ordinary. But when he gets space in a game like he did against Everton, he can finish. And look, you go back to that Everton game. The first goal was a set piece where he's got a good shot on him and it deflects in. The second goal, he's one-on-one. He's got a good shot on him. Both goals were good, but there was nothing really technical beyond the finishing, which he's good at. It didn't come from a lung-busting run down the wing where he skips past three players or winning a pressing and winning the ball back and scoring. So it's like Amorim said last week, some of these players are performing really well. Some of these players can do a lot better, but they've got to want to do it. And I will call out the media who try and put it on the shoulders of a manager because we've been down this road so many times. Ralph Rangnick was talking about open heart surgery. We still haven't had it. Do you know there was people in the summer talking about open heart surgery? Finally, we've got Ineos. Hello everybody and welcome to Ineos. We finally got the scalpel and the open heart surgery can commence. Well, that wasn't open heart surgery. That was open your wallet. There was no open heart surgery there. McTominay wasn't an obvious player that needed to go. We got rid of him to raise money. Wan-Bissaka wasn't an obvious player to go. We got rid of him to raise money. Varane and Martial. Oh, we've been really ruthless with Martial and Varane. We've saved over £600,000 a week, and we've got rid of two internationals who are very, very good players. But we're ruthless. You're not ruthless. You're not ruthless. They were out of contract. It was easy. When have Man United, under Ineos or the Glazers, been ruthless around a player? Never. And how many do they need to do it to? Numerous. So this is what I'm waiting for. And if any Pratt journalist wants to try and spin it onto PR or our manager, they might want to look at the fact that the owners of this football club have never done what needs to be done. Funnily enough, we played a team last night who have rebuilt their football club from the ashes. How did they do it? Well, at Arsenal, what they did was they got rid of two big players. They were ruthless. Aubameyang and Ozil, straight away, back to the manager. And even some fans weren't happy, but they didn't care. They just did it. And that's what needs to happen. I've got to stop doing that voice now. This is what we need to do. We need to remove players. Lynn Hall says, must admit, Garnacho has gone backwards this season. He needs time, and Amorim needs to get consistency out of him. He's still better as a sub and not a striker. Yeah, Lynn, I don't really... I'm not the person to speak to about Garnacho because I don't agree with that. I actually think he's been one of our better players this season and delivered better stats than most people, I think. I think under Amorim, I would agree with you, Lynn, that he was actually doing better under Ten Hag. That's what I was trying to say. He was doing better under Ten Hag. But that's not unusual because he's now being asked to play a different role. There is no wing role. He is playing centrally behind a striker, and it's a different role. And as I say, at 20 years of age, I think we can be a little bit more patient with him than maybe we could be with more senior players. I actually don't think he played badly in last night. I was surprised how people were going for him because I don't think he actually played that bad. I don't think he played that well, but I thought him and Mount really helped us retain possession in the first half, which was obviously the plan. There does need to be a lot more, and maybe it will be from the bench, but patience is a virtue with these types of players. And, you know, we've also got the likes of Kobe and Rasmus and Yoro. There's some good young players coming through, but we will have to be patient as they get adjusted to this new system, of course. Ronnie says, I'd sell Rashford 100% profit. Shearer said, we need a world-class striker. Assad, I mean, I'd look, Alan Shearer wouldn't do it because he'd bottle it, but I'd say to him, Alan, how much do you watch Man United? Oh, I watch them loads. Yeah, why do you think we need a world-class striker? Yeah, score goals. Okay, how often do we... How many chances did our striker get last night? Don't know. None. How many chances did Rasmus get against Bodo Glimt last week? Don't know. Didn't he watch it, man? 2. How many did he score? 2. Yeah. Service. Shearer's talking out of his arse. We don't need a world-class striker. We need to create chances for our striker. It was a graveyard shift last night. I don't think Rasmus had a shot on goal. I don't remember him having a shot on goal. So we don't need to spend money on a striker. We need to spend money on creatives. That's what we need to do. It's a graveyard shift up front. Doesn't matter whether it's Rashford, Rasmus, Xerxes. The service into the striker's crap. Apart from Everton, where there was plenty of chances and we scored. Martin Saunders says, Mark, 2 words, sacrificial lamb. Now that would be ruthless, says Martin Saunders, yes. And Alex says, let's see if we can be ruthless and not extend Maguire's contract. And what would the press then say? Oh, they'd go mad, mate. Absolutely mad. Thank you very much for your super chat, Alex. We've had another super chat from Gold Ball Saves Footbridge. Feeling something about last night. Good intel for Amorim. I think you're feeling positive, mate. Yeah, look, I think this is a very good point. I think Amorim. Look, when I look at Ollie, when I look at Ten Hag, their first. I know Ten Hag lost his first 2 games, but then we went on a really good run. And I think those 2 results got swept under the carpet very quickly because we brought Antony and Casemiro in, didn't we? And then Ten Hag had a good first season and Ollie had a good first season. I think that I'm actually happy that Amorim is getting the intel, as you call it, so soon, because it really needs to happen. Like we need. I know the problems in that club, and he can't fix the problem if he doesn't see the issue. And if he came into the club and everyone was playing really, really well, I'd be worried because I'd be going, there's a truth. There's a hidden truth here. There is a hidden truth. It's like waking up in the morning, having gone out the night before with someone who looks amazing with makeup and everything like that. There's a hidden truth there in the morning. Amorim's getting the morning look. He's getting the harsh reality of, like, I'm not saying everybody looks bad in the morning, but you know what I mean. Amorim's getting that, and I think that is so important. I'm encouraged that the reality and truth is being revealed because it was never the manager's fault. And what happens is, if Amorim wins his first 8 games and then we start losing, because the honeymoon period is over, the manager gets the blame. It's the manager's fault, even though we've got players who were doing the same thing under Rangnick that did it under Ten Hag and might do it under Amorim. So if we see the truth at the start of Amorim, we know it's not Amorim. And many of us know it's not him anyway, but if he went and won 6 or 7 games and then the truth came out, people would blame it on him. So I'm glad that we're getting the truth at the start. And the truth is, there are major issues in that squad. Hopefully Sir Jim starts implementing some player salary cuts, puts in performance-based pay. Too easy to not deliver and earn generational wealth, says Mark Lawton. Look, I said this to you last week. Well, I said it on Twitter last night. One, the team's being leaked by a current player. I'm not going to give the name because that's just, it's arsey to do that. But one, the team's being leaked by a team player. That's a big rumour going around behind the scenes at the moment. And I don't think any journalist will write it, but the name has been thrown around. It'll probably surface at some point, and it's not Garnacho's brother. 2, there has also been anecdotes of United players privately saying, I get paid no matter what. So the attitude is still not changed. Like, there are still elements of that dressing room that need clearing out or educating. Jason said we should be saying Amorim out. Okay, Stitch, I hope Amorim is successful, but I give him this season just to figure everything out. I'm in it for the long term. Best thing Amorim has done is rotate the team. It will help limit injuries and keep the whole squad sharp. Anyone questioning it needs to wake up, says Richard Smith. I'm questioning it. I don't agree with rotating the team as much as he is. I understand why he's doing it, and I will back the manager, but I don't agree with it because we're not good enough. I said this last night. I understand why he's rotating it, and he is being told he can only play people for certain amounts of time. So I understand why he's doing it, but it's a bad idea in the long term because we don't have a first 11 that's good enough to beat Arsenal. So why are we splitting it across a squad of 20? We're going to come unstuck again. You can't have a different team against Forest from a different team against Arsenal and then a different team against Man City. We haven't got a squad like Man City. They can probably do that because they've got so many good players. We're diluting our team because we have to keep rotating. And I understand why he's doing it, but I know, and you know, Richard, we don't have a squad good enough to rotate. We don't. I look at some people look at the game last night. Why didn't he play? Why didn't he play? Why didn't he play? We have to have an honest conversation about Rasmus. Second season, he isn't scoring enough. I don't think he will hit 10 goals this season. You see, Love United hate the ops. I thought you were I thought you'd made an intelligent comment. I think that's a dreadful comment. We have to have an honest conversation about Rasmus. He scored 2 good goals a week ago and has played up front against Arsenal with no service, and we need an honest conversation. I'll give you an honest conversation. It's about service, mate. Give him service, he'll score goals. Give him no service, he won't score goals. That's an honest conversation. Anything else beyond that is just pure and utter agenda. It's bullshit, mate. Absolute shite. I don't care who played up front for Man United last night. Could be Erling Haaland, could be Harry Kane. They wouldn't have got any service. So yes, it was a below par performance from Rasmus as what you would expect from a striker. But there's no bloody service. And against Bodo Glimt, 2 chances, 2 goals. One of them virtually out of nothing. So I don't think we need to have a conversation. Other than set pieces, Arsenal did not create any chances. Odegaard was missing. Saka was not visible. The lads did well. Slow progress is progress. Very good community. Well done, Henry, and a very good point. I can already see a style of play, says Vinny. I trust the process. Derek says, Son is a bit old, isn't he? What wage would we give? Are we not in talks for Gyökeres as a mid-term option with Rasmus as long-term for striker? Says Derek. Well, I don't know, but I would watch Man United last night and I wouldn't be spending £70 million on Gyökeres because he'd still be playing against Arsenal with no service. I desperately want us to buy a really established attacking left-sided player. Luke Shaw's never fit. Delo can't do it. Malacia we don't know. Antony can't do it. So we need to be able to attack down the flank, and we couldn't do that last night. Ahmad can do it down the right. Mazraoui can probably do it down the right as well. And I think he needs better players behind the striker as well. I'm not convinced that Xerxes can do that role as well as he needs to. Obviously, a lot of people have spoken about Rashford. I'd like to play Ahmad in behind there. Garnacho, as Lynn says, needs a bit of time to get used to it. Mount looked promising, but can he stay fit? We need somebody in behind the striker, to be honest with you. To put it in a nutshell, Rashford's just not good enough. We've done that from Ronald. Thank you very much. Let me just have a quick check as well. Somebody just said, generally, are you happy? No, I'm not happy because we are, for me, top 4 was never going to happen. But top 4 disappeared last night anyway. Like, you can't be 7 points off 4th place. That's going to be too much. And it's not just 7 points, it's 10 places as well. So, in a way, that's a positive. We need a reality. We need a bloody reality bite in this fan base and in this football club. And the reality is we're not going to get top 4. And the reality is we're not good enough to get top 4. And the reality is we're a long way off. And as soon as people start realising the reality, they'll take their expectations down to a level where we're behind the manager, but Ineos need to do more. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. And I hope that we can start to do more, because if we don't, then we will struggle. We will struggle as everybody else has done. Yoro was a positive from last night. De Ligt was a positive. Agate was a positive. And I think with Yoro, we're just going to have to see steady progress, aren't we? But I also think that hopefully we're starting to get closer to a situation where, look, Martinez and Mainu didn't play last night as well. I mean, that's another positive, isn't it? Those 2 players would be players that are considered important players for Manchester United. So they'll be back soon as well. I just had a comment here. I just wanted to read it from Amorim about Ruben Amorim. Where's the quote? Oh yeah, Ruben Amorim was impressed with Yoro last night. You can feel it, the talent, the speed, the way he handled 1-against-1s in a difficult stadium after a long time without playing. So, I mean, that's really encouraging from Amorim as well, to single out, not just he did well, but to single out the fact that he's quick, the talent, and the fact that he can do well in the one-on-ones, because he certainly wants to be able to do that with his defenders, because it allows his wide players to commit going forward if you've got centre-backs that can do that. I'm just reading some of the stuff here about half-time rant from Amorim. I don't know. I don't know about half-time rant or anything like that. But look, at the end of the day, we are not where some people thought we were on Sunday night. It wasn't Amorim ball. We're not back. Certain players aren't back. We are at the bottom of the mountain, and I'm ready to climb. But we're going to have to be patient. And along the way, we are going to lose fans. We're going to lose the media. We're going to get more scrutiny. Player FC will be back. All these things are not going to disappear because we had a honeymoon of 2 weeks where everyone was like, oh my God, Amorim's amazing. We will get problems along the way. We'll have more defeats. We'll get leaks from the dressing room. Everything's going to happen. But as Stephen Maguire said, Amorim was right. He told you that a storm was coming, and it is going to come. And it's how you react to that. And all I can say is, I feel probably the same as I did on Sunday night. I was happy that we'd beaten Everton, but I wasn't convinced that that meant we're back. And I'm not happy that we've lost to Arsenal, but I'm not convinced it means anything more than what it meant on Sunday night. We are a work in progress with a manager that has a ridiculously difficult job, who is not doing it in pre-season, who is trying to manage minutes and also massive games. And, you know, Forest on Saturday afternoon becomes a must-win game that might not be a win. So, you know, everything's a challenge at the moment. Just joined, Son is 30. No, he's not. He's 32. He's 32, mate. Don't know where you're getting your information from. 32 in July. Wrong answer. I would sign Gyökeres, give him 4 or 5 years, and Rasmus is a good age learning from him as well, says Logan Murray. Xabi Simons would be a great left attacking midfielder, says Zumi. Vinny says there's still a lot missing from Rasmus's game. Yeah, well, he's 21, mate. I would expect that. It's the same with Garnacho. It's the same with Mainu. I would expect that. I mean, Why do you think you're going to have a complete striker at 20 or 21 or winger? Again, like I don't understand elements of our fan base other than the fact that it's just player FC, because they want to compare 20-year-olds to 27-year-olds. And they're like, why is this player not like this player? Why doesn't this player get treated the same as this player? Maybe because that player's had 7 years more in a Man United shirt or a Sporting shirt or whatever. Like, there are players that need development, and there are players that I don't think can be developed. Derek says, as a left-sided creative player, we should have a look at Ben Sagir. He is fantastic, undervalued, fast, creative, and loves to service. Give me Welbeck over Rashford any day, says Niki. And Rashford is a product of the club's failings over the past 10 years. With a stable structure and consistent coaching team, he could have been him, says Presuming Ed. Loan Rashford to a Farmers League for a reality check, says Thomas. Hi Mark, is it a psychological thing with some players? If they aren't good enough, it's imperative Ineos have the cajones to sell them no matter what, says Tom. My biggest fear about Man United is I don't think Ineos have got the ability to sell players that need to go. I think that they can sell players that people want. I think they can remove players that are out of contract, but I don't think they have the ability to remove what needs to be removed if it's on a big contract. Luke Shaw could be one of those players. You've mentioned Rashford. Antony's on a big contract as well. Casemiro's got 2 years left. I don't think they can get rid of those types of players, and it needs to happen. I would be thrilled to see Ahmad and Mount in the 10. I hope as Yoro returns, Mazraoui can go into the right wing-back facility. This also left-footed at left wing-back, says KC. Thank you very much. Okay, 2 o'clock, I think we're previewing the Forest game because it's quick, isn't it? It's Thursday and then we're playing on Saturday. Another quick rotation as per usual. But there we go. Thanks everyone for tuning in this morning. Absolute legends as always. Smash a like on the video and subscribe. I feel like I'm bunging up in the last few minutes here. I don't know what's going wrong. Out and About with Job, thanks for your super chat, says Højlund will only come good once the quality of the players around him improve. If there is no service, then there are no chances. Simple. He fits the profile. I just don't think some people know how to read a striker. I mean, I'm not a Man City fan, but the amount of times I defend Haaland is incredible. Haaland plays for Man City, doesn't score. Haaland's fell off. Haaland's shit. Watch the actual game, gets no service. Haaland is not a player that is good at holding up the ball, running the channels, taking people on, creating, dribbling. Haaland is a penalty box striker and he's the best in the world. But there are games where he gets shut down and doesn't do anything. And people go, Haaland's shit. It's not shit. He has an attribute that needs to be fed. And if you cut it off, his game becomes limited. And that's the same for a lot of strikers. So you need to, when you're analysing players, you need to look at the role they're being asked to do and the supply they are getting. It's as simple as that. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Fantastic show this morning. Please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We're back at 2 o'clock. Smash a like on the video. And if you've got time a little bit later, check out our video on That's Football, because there's something in there at the start, because me and Loz are just going to talk about the games, etc. There's something in there at the start which is very relevant to Man United that I think you might find interesting and may end up being clipped up somewhere for people to sort of react to, because I've been thinking about it for a couple of weeks and it's the perfect time to say it. And it does involve certain United players. Check that out on That's Football in a couple of hours. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.